Joining us live, the one and only John Najarian, Dr. J, as he's known on the major financial networks, co-founder of Market Rebellion. He's got the laser eyes on, too, following the cryptos closely. And his new book with his brother Pete is It's Not an Option. Learning how to trade options is no longer an option. It's a necessity. John Najarian, thank you very much for coming to the line this afternoon.
It's my pleasure, as always, Frank. It's an interesting day, certainly, with all the news you just cited, as well as the after-hours news on NVIDIA and so forth, or NVIDIA, depending how you want to say it. It's a very interesting trading day.
Most definitely, and a down day, the biggest down day since that meltdown about a month ago. Dow down more than 600, the NASDAQ down nearly 600, big percentage drop there. Give us your impressions of what we just went through here.
Well, as virtually all Americans know, we did not open for business in most cases yesterday. The rest of the world, of course, does not observe our Labor Day. They have various other holidays throughout their years for observing workers who put in hours and, in some cases, their entire lives to the service economy. But in this case, it's just America that observed our Labor Day. So in other words, Europe and Asia, there's really three main trade zones in the world that trade in 8-hour increments. And it's really the United States. Then we pass the torch over to Asia. Then Asia passes the torch over to the UK and the rest of Europe. And those markets yesterday, Frank, that did trade were pretty much down across the board. So the idea coming into today was that absent a significant positive in the United States, we would trade to the downside because it truly is a global trade. And indeed, that's what we did. We traded to the downside, reacting to weakness in China, their PMI, purchasing managers, and so forth, as well as the consumer confidence numbers out of China. And later this week, of course, we get the August employment data coming our way on Friday, as well as some other key metrics. I don't think there's a doubt that the U.S. will cut interest rates at the September 18th meeting. But nonetheless, it could be already priced in, and that's what a lot of people are fearing at this point. If it's already priced in and the markets somehow then feel that they needed more, well, the likely event is that we go to the downside after that. And that's what today's reaction in the market, I think, was all about.
Thank you for that excellent analysis. As always, we're on the line with John Najarian. And John Najarian, today we got the news, a disappointing reading on manufacturing, notable here in the Los Angeles area, because many people don't know this, that Los Angeles is the largest manufacturing region in the United States. So anytime we get a reading on manufacturing, it's impacting this area as well. And that key barometer of factories negative for the fifth straight month, signaling the manufacturing side of the economy is still in a deep slump, down for several months now, down about 5 months, I believe it is. So what's your assessment there, and is this leading to new recession talk here?
Well, certainly every time we see a softening to this extent of the economy, that is one of the conversations that comes up, Frank, as usual. You're right on point. And China has had 4 consecutive months of contraction. Now, it's one of the reasons we saw crude oil futures down 4%, because obviously China and the United States are the two largest consumers of crude oil-based product. So whether or not it's the crude oil itself, whether it's diesel, the distillates that go from Jet A all the way down to gasoline for our cars, this is something that we watch closely. And I'm not saying that U.S. consumers are cutting back on driving because it's too expensive. I'm saying that China, in particular, has cut back rather dramatically on their consumption. And would they start putting it into their equivalent of our strategic petroleum reserve? Yes, they would, but probably in the 60s not in the 70 per barrel range where crude oil and WTI are right now.
On there live with John Najarian. Getting back to NVIDIA here, we see it down to more than $11 today, back to 108 and moving lower in after-hours trading. Big drop in market cap, eye-popping drop in market cap for that stock here in one shot. I saw one write-up that says NVIDIA or NVIDIA stock usually performs worst in September. What's your assessment here of NVIDIA?
Well, my assessment is that somehow somebody got an inkling that the U.S. was about to charge them with some sort of antitrust issue. Now, we don't know, so I'm not going to speculate on air about what that charge may be. But apparently, the issue with NVIDIA, both during the day today and in the after hours, which, as you said, drove it down through 106 in the after hours, closed at roughly, closer to 110, 111, or at least was trading near there until this rumor came out. The charge that maybe they will be subject of a U.S., not a foreign antitrust, but a U.S. antitrust investigation, has NVIDIA shares the weakest we've seen since that August 5th day that drove NVIDIA down all the way through $91 a share. So do I think it's all over for them? No, I don't. And I would say that there were a lot of speculative buyers of downside trades, or in other words, puts, that certainly think that NVIDIA goes significantly lower over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Fast forward to the present. Thank you for that. And NVIDIA shares are moving lower in after-hours trading, down about 2% to 106 and change. And on the news that you referenced, John Najarian, after Bloomberg reported, this is sourced is Bloomberg here, reporting that the company received a subpoena from the Department of Justice as part of an antitrust investigation. The slide coming after NVIDIA dropped nearly 10% during regular trading, wiping $279 billion off its market cap. According to that Bloomberg report, the DOJ investigation has not reached the stage of a formal complaint, and the agency is asking questions about whether NVIDIA makes it harder to switch to other suppliers of AI chips. NVIDIA, it should be noted, has more than 80% of the market for data center AI chips, according to industry estimates. So thanks for bringing us up to date on all of that. Getting to the exciting stuff now, the cryptos, which you follow closely. We've seen another wild ride for crypto in the last several days. Bitcoin right now, let me take a look. Down just below 58K here at the moment. Ethereum at around 2,400. What's your assessment of the crypto action?
Well, there's a lot of speculation that cryptos will start reacting to the political contest going on between President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris over the next several weeks and months. Obviously, that's driven by the idea that President Trump is a huge supporter of Bitcoin and cryptos, and Kamala Harris has said she is not against it, but she has not shown up at any of these industry events, like, for instance, the most recent Bitcoin conference in Nashville. So the fact that Bitcoin was down 2.5% today, falling under 60,000 again, as you say, even breaking through 58,000. Ethereum also trading to the downside by about 3.8%, down to about 24.47. Both those numbers, not what the crypto folks would like to see. They would like to see, of course, those alternatives to fiat moving higher. The reason they haven't seen that, quite frankly, is that there's a big division between the two candidates, the one that really supports crypto and the one that supports USDC. In other words, the central bank digital currency, which is what Kamala Harris supports, versus crypto itself, which is what Donald Trump supports. So I would think, absent something else in the world as far as news, whether it's, as you say, the hostage, sadly, that was the U.S. hostage that was killed over in Gaza this past few days. Those sorts of things have people very nervous about political winds blowing in a particular direction. Right now, that direction seems to be deepening and deepening on the war side, whether it's Gaza, whether it's the Ukraine conflict with Russia, or Russia conflict with Ukraine, however you prefer to view that. And those are not standalone events. Those are events that traders in the markets of fiat, of precious metals, and of crypto are keeping a close eye on.
On your live with John Najarian, excellent. Appreciate your assessment on that. Anything that's top of mind in the crypto space at the moment that's getting your attention among all the coins, meme coins and tokens, and of course the bigger names that you track?
Well, I mean, I've talked about Parlay before, and Parlay is a very interesting new entrant onto the scene, because Parlay allows people to basically create meme coins almost out of thin air. I mean, they're able to do it with the most, if you will, ease of any of these sorts of events. So I think overall, when you're looking at something like Parlay, this is something that is trading myparlay.com, myparlay.com. This is, I think, something that people will definitely gravitate to the same way they gravitated towards Wix, Wix.com, for websites and things like that. When you're creating a website, most of us don't have the skill set to basically create out of whole cloth a brand new website for a company. Well, imagine how many people would like to create a meme coin for their business. Well, that's exactly what this myparlay.com can do. And that was a big thing that I was taken with at the Nashville Bitcoin conference. And I think it continues to be something that people are focused on, Frank.
On the live with John Najarian, and we see the VIX index, by the way, spiking 38% today. That's the Wall Street Fear Index, the Volatility Index, and of course you're an options guy, and you've got that great new book out as well. It's Not an Option is the name of the book. What are your thoughts about volatility at this point, and what do we need to know about options here?
Well, we certainly did see a big move out of the VIX. I mean, for weeks and weeks, the VIX was at 12 or roughly 12%. Now it is up at 20.71. It is up 33% today alone. That is a very big move. The volatility index measures how much the S&P is expected to go up or down. Generally, and I'm sure most of your fans, Frank, and there are many, many millions of those, most people would say the VIX rises on uncertainty in the market, on fear in the market. So the fact that it's up 33% today is indeed something that people are worried about. If it flattens out at this level, roughly 20 and 72 cents where it is in the after hours, that would be a good thing. If it does not and continues higher, it could not so much threaten the 65 reading that we got a month ago, but certainly it could go up over 30. And that's something that traders and hedge funds watch very closely. So over the next several days, this is a very important issue to watch, the VIX itself, VIX.
All right, before I let you off the hook here, John Najarian, briefly, let me ask you the big question now. Any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Well, I think over the weekend we had a lot of interest in everything from Amazon.com to eBay. So I would say those two, as well as PayPal, PYPL. In other words, all of which I've described are not bricks and mortars. I would love to see bricks and mortar stocks catch more of a wind at their back, but we're not seeing it right now. We're seeing a lot of interest in the, if you will, the internet or e-commerce side of the markets. Now, that's great because it does actually employ a lot of people to deliver and to fulfill all of these purchases that are made online, but it is not nearly the same numbers of people as people walking through the door into retail stores. So this is something that I think we're going to be talking about, Frank, over the next several months leading up to the election.
Fantastic, John. Thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon. I always wish we had even more time here. You're terrific, and look forward to our next conversation here. John Najarian, Dr. J, as he's known on the major financial networks, co-founder of Market Rebellion. His new book with his brother Pete, It's Not an Option. Learning how to trade options is no longer an option. It's a necessity. And be sure to catch John Najarian on X, formerly known as Twitter, at John Najarian. Thank you very much, John, for joining us live here on Motec on Money on 790 KABC. Motec on Money continues 790 KABC.